It's hard to believe, but 2017 marks 30 years for the Gaddis family in the real estate business. Real estate is a family tradition. We live, eat, breathe, and sleep real estate. We've already done it for 30 years, and our plan is to do it for another 30 years.
I began my real estate career in 1987. I chose real estate because, number one, I'm an Atlanta native. It just was a natural lead-in for me. I was newly divorced and had so many different changes in my life that I wanted something that was stable. It was a job that was flexible and I could set my own hours. I still had kids at home and I needed to be able to do and be with them.
I believe that I've always naturally liked to sell. When I was a kid, we lived on a street called Habsburg Court, and I would go around and interview my neighbors and find out what their kids were doing for the summer. And I'd go back to my house and I'd write a little newspaper. I'd write it on a typewriter that you had to manually type through, and I'd use 6 or 7 pieces of carbon paper, and it was called the Habsburg Herald. And when I finished, I'd go and sell a copy of the paper to the neighbors for $1. I feel like I've just always liked to sell. I was in my own business early as a kid, so even as a teenager, I owned my own landscaping business. I loved to sell the services and take care of clients and do my best to deliver more than anyone could ever expect. And so I don't know that I'm a great salesman. I know that it's what I like to do. I decided to get into the real estate business actually for the first 11 years of my work life. I worked for Electrolux, the vacuum cleaner company. Came back to Atlanta, decided that I was going to be a real estate investor, and I was able to make a little money investing in real estate, and decided that I would like to sell commercial real estate. So I went around and started talking to all the big commercial brokers in Atlanta, and every one of the commercial brokers I talked to asked me the same question: is your mom Jean Gaddis? And I would say yes every time, and they said, well, why don't you go get into business with her? I never thought about working with my mother. I never thought that would be something that I would want to do. I don't think most sons grow up saying, man, I can't wait to work with my mother. But I went to work with her in 2002, and it's really been one of the best decisions I've ever made.
Working with my son, Cleve, was probably the most joyous part of my life. Mothers and sons don't always agree, but we agreed about 99% of the time. He had been in sales and he had been in marketing, so he had an entirely different approach to the business. He came in ready to modernize us, and with his abilities, and he's very much a super personality, it didn't take long at all for him to work himself to a position where he was the leader of the team and I was working for him.
When I first started working for my mom, it was weird. And not weird in a bad way, just weird. So after we got through kind of getting to know how it was to work with one another, it was awesome. She took her roles and the things she was good at, and I took my roles and the things I was good at. We each did our own things. We ran the business together, and it wasn't but a couple of years when I actually bought the business from her, and we worked on the team together.
I've always been extremely proud of my ability to chat with anybody. I guess I just talked to everybody I knew and told them I was in the real estate business. I would write notes to people. I would send cards to people. Even when I was standing in the grocery store line, I'd always have on my name badge, and I would tell them what I did, and I would always have a business card and gave it to them. And it's amazing how people can get a sense of trust from a simple conversation.
My favorite thing about being in real estate is the people. I get to meet new people all day, every day, learn about their past, their circumstances, everything. I get to really be involved intimately in someone else's life. It is just so cool. And oftentimes I get in the car and I'm driving back to the office, and I know absolutely beyond the shadow of a doubt that I was supposed to be there and that they were supposed to be working with me. And that is so cool and powerful. So I started thinking about a sure home buying system all the way back in 2003. And I knew that we did things in the process of helping somebody buy a home that nobody else out there did. We really dug into the details to make sure that our clients could be absolutely sure about all the decisions they made when buying a home, because we were going to ensure they were the best educated party. But I didn't have a written process for it. And so I started in 2003. That was the first year I ever wrote down the word Sure Home Buying System. And believe it or not, it took me all the way to 2013 to write it. It's a 71-step process that educates a buyer agent every single step of the way to make sure we're providing the service that lets buyers be confident in every decision they make.
Believing in yourself, even when you don't really believe in yourself, but acting like you do. Getting good training, learning the market, learning how to use the tools that are there is something that's going to have realtors being needed. I see the real estate business staying strong for the next 30 years and the next 30 years after that.
You know, we've accomplished a lot over our first 30 years, and we've helped a lot of families along the way. I would say that our total is probably well over 3,000 families in that 30-year period. And I'll be honest with you, when I look at the real estate industry, I see so many people who sell 4 or 5 homes a year. They're in it part-time. They're not very serious about what they're doing. And unfortunately, the sellers and the buyers they work with, they suffer because the agent doesn't have enough experience. And so for the next 30 years, I'll be honest with you, my plan is to help as many people as we possibly can avoid having to work with the average inexperienced agent who's really not prepared to help them the way they need and deserve to be helped.